Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today we are going to be doing some no-line watercoloring with this beautiful Calla lily set from Altenew. This is part of their Paint a Flower series. All of their stamps come with these little booklets that give you like bunches of ideas, which is amazing. I love that. That's one of my favorite parts about their sets because sometimes you just need a catalyst, you know? So I am using watercolor paper and I'm going to stamp my image. I pulled out a couple of my Altenew inks. This is the, I think it's Rainbow Prism. Nope, this is Soft Pastel. I'm lying to you. It's a Soft Pastel set and I ended up stamping this in the Mango Smoothie color. I knew I was going to be doing lots of pinks and oranges and yellows and greens, and so I thought a base layer of yellow would be the best one to blend in, but really any color lighter ink will mostly work for no color or no line images. So I just stamped that down. I am working on a piece of watercolor cardstock that is a little bit bigger than my actual card base, but I like to give myself room to trim. I'm using their watercolor brush markers. These are some of my favorite watercolor brush markers. I have the Zigs, I have the Arteza ones. The color and like the vividness of these watercolor brush markers are the best. So here I'm working with the Winter Wonderland and then the Tropical set, and I'm just kind of swatching out the colors that are in there to see what I want to use. Typically I don't always show this part of my process, but a lot of people will ask questions about how I come up with my color palettes. And so this is something that I do pretty often, swatching them out to see what I want. And then I'm just labeling the ones that I know I want to use. I ended up using the Rouge, Citrus Burst, Sunkissed, and Purple Wine. For technique, I like controlled watercolor. I like a looser look too, but that's different. When I'm actually no line coloring an image, I like a tightly controlled watercolor. And so I like to take these particular markers and go direct to paper. They blend out beautifully. Now, Altenew sells a water brush, and then it's also, I think, included in their watercolor set, like the pan set. But I prefer using a paintbrush, a smaller paintbrush at that. This is a number 2 round. But anywho, so then I just put the color down and then I will get my paintbrush damp. Now at this point in my watercoloring, I've been practicing enough that I am able to pick up the amount of water that I want. If you're not at that point yet, which I wasn't for a very long time, so no shame in the game, like you do what works for you. If you need to blot off excess water, just take a paper towel and then blot off the base of your bristles, and that will absorb the majority of the water, so that your paintbrush stays just damp. I'm just going to continue doing this same technique throughout. You'll see that I do go back in and add other colors. So the first one I added a little yellow, this one I'm adding a little bit of purple, just because I like color variation. That may not be your thing. You may want solid, like coral colored, or solid yellow, or whatever, and that's totally fine. Here is, because the watercolor brush markers are the mechanism is the same as a water brush, so you squeeze out a little bit of the ink and then move on. Sometimes I get overzealous with my squeezing because I am impatient, and so like I want the pigment to flow, and so sometimes I squeeze too much. That's what happened with my purple wine color, and it also happened with the emerald later on when we do the leaves. So in order to combat that, I will not take that marker direct to paper anymore, because like, see here, you can see how much came out. I will end up putting it on my Altenew like craft mat that you see in the background, and then I will just pick that up with my paintbrush so that I avoid having any blobs where I don't want them to be. So that's just a little tip that you can use if you do over squeeze your marker like I did. So here you don't want to, it's no different than any other watercolor. You don't want to work next to two areas that are wet because they'll bleed into each other, and we need to maintain really good boundaries, especially when we're doing no line watercoloring. So that way your image stays super crisp. That is like the point of doing, for me, of having a really controlled watercolor technique, is to make sure that all of my image lines are what I want them to be, and that it's not messy and it's not flowy, that everything stays where it's intended. So I'm just going through and doing the same application over and over again, and I will do the leaves the same way. This is a little bit of a longer video, even for me, but it's because I left everything in. So I left in all of the watercoloring, I left in, every leaf, every flower, every mistake, like I always do. So if at some point you would like to fast forward it, feel free. You're not going to miss anything. It's, that's just what I'm doing over and over again, because some people like watching the whole process and they don't want to see anything left out, because if they're at home trying to do this, then they want to see that whole, how that particular flower was done or how that particular leaf was done. And I am one of those people. I don't like when videos jump from point A to point D and I don't know what happened in the middle. Especially being self-taught, because I learned from YouTube videos for so long. So like when there was a piece that was missing, I was like, but wait, but how do I do that? But why does it look like that? So I leave mine in. Some people don't like the longer videos, so please feel free to speed them up. This is part of a blog hop. I do want to make mention of that. It is part of a blog hop for Altenew's Paint a Flower series. If you don't know what that is, it's actually a really awesome deal. So you get a $15.99 stamp set for $12.99 because it is a subscription based. So then once you sign up for the subscription, you are guaranteed the whatever flower is being released. So you never miss out on any of them. Plus you get the discount of getting them for $12.99 versus $15.99. So if you're a person who really loves Altenew flowers, which honestly, they're my favorite, that's their stamps. How do I want to say this? Why can't I make words? Why can't I make words happen? The flower stamp sets they have are my favorite of their stamps. There. Wow. I don't know what was happening. My brain was like, you make no sentences. Anyway, so that is an option. They are also doing giveaways with the blog hop to a couple of the commenters. So I will link my blog below in case you missed out on that and would like to participate. I actually kind of giggled because when I was looking through the blog hop, I noticed that a couple of us kind of did this purpley peach yellow combination for the calla lilies, which honestly, calla lilies are some of my favorite flowers. I adore them. They will be in my bridal bouquet, even though they are a little bit more expensive. Totally worth it. And they're a swamp flower. Can you imagine something this pretty grows out of a swamp? But I typically go for the white ones, not so much the colored ones. But because it is now August and I have not been able to card make as much as I have in previous years, just because of everything going on with the wedding and my work schedule changing and, all of that stuff. I haven't really gotten a chance to use a lot of bright, fun summer colors. So that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to squander my opportunity to do that with these beautiful flowers here. So here, this part, I'm going to be straight up with you, is not a flower. It's a leaf. And I decided that I was going to turn it into a flower. Why? Because the 4 calla lilies that are in there are really beautiful, but it was kind of bugging me that there was only 4 and I wanted there to be an odd number. So I just picked a part of a leaf that was kind of folded over and looked to be separate, just to add in this color combination one more time. And then that's pretty much going to be it for the flowers, and we're going to move on to the leaves. And you'll see I'm going to, swatch the colors out just like I did for the flowers to kind of pick my greens. I did at one point have all of my sets kind of swatched out. So I would just pick those up and see what the colors looked like and then make a choice from there. But I think I lost it during the move. I'm not really sure where it ended up. It might be still in a box somewhere. Yes, I still have stuff in boxes. Don't judge me, Eric. So yeah, so that's that. As far as story time, several people have asked about the wedding. The wedding is still on. We are about like 2 weeks away. Yeah, so we're getting married on September 5th. Everything is pretty much taken care of. We had our final meetings like with the organist for the church, with the pastor, with the reception hall. Most of the things that we had been working on, we made our own wedding sign, which my best friend was nice enough to come over and help me with, and the table numbers. That's all done. I built the card box, which may be today's story time. I haven't decided yet. So that's complete. Like anything that the only thing left, like we have all of the things for the centerpieces, but we haven't actually put them together. And the reason why is because once I put them together, then I have to store them. And I don't want them to be all put together like collecting dust, and then I have to dust these things before, because we're using fake flowers. And so I'm not creating more work for myself. So I figure about a week or so before we have to drop them off, I'll go ahead and put them together. I do have some time off around there. So yeah, it's very exciting. I went for my dress fitting as well. That is not complete yet. I have to go back again. I have an appointment on the 26th and then another one for the final fitting on the 28th. So, yeah, just a very exciting time, a little bit crazy busy. I forgot about my own birthday. I forgot about my own birthday. My birthday is the last day of August 31st. And, we were sitting down doing something, I can't remember. And, here's where the, side note, here's where the emerald one, thankfully it fell into an area where there was already green. So I just blotted it up with a clean paper towel, went back in with some water, went over that, and then blotted it up again to pick up some of the pigment. But thankfully I was already doing the shadow areas, so it's not really a huge deal that it's all super dark. I was just very fortunate. If that happens to you and it falls into an area that you don't like, or you don't want that area to be that dark, just keep going over it with the water and blotting it up with the paper towel. Maybe put some water on there and let it sit for a second or two to really pull up some of that pigment. And then you should be fine. These pick up pretty well. So anyway, I forgot my own birthday. We were sitting there doing something and Eric was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" And I was like, "Oh, my birthday. That's coming up, isn't it?" So kudos to him for remembering in the middle of all of this chaos that it was my birthday, because I completely forgot about it altogether, and it's mine, and I've had it my whole life. So I did tell him I want a Cricut. That's what I want. I want a Cricut. I have the original Cricut. That's how old I am in crafting. I have the original Cricut with the cartridges, but I really want one that will hook up to the computer so that I can make all kinds of fun things around the house. There's a ton of people, just buckets and loads of people who have started their own business with their Cricut making. And they're making tumblers, and they're making t-shirts, and they're making home decor, and they're making all kinds of stuff. I don't want it to make my own things to sell. I want it to just make my own things so I don't have to buy them from other people. Plus, we have found ourselves in this area of refinishing, building things, I don't even know what, DIY projects. And so because I am enjoying that part of my life, I would really like to be able to not have to worry about hand painting the lettering, which is kind of where I'm at right now without something like the Cricut. So I, fingers crossed, I asked my mom and Eric, so I'm hoping one of them, I told my mom, I was like, it's kind of expensive, all you and Kim and Michelle, y'all might want to go in on it, but if that's all I get, I'll be happy. I would be happy anyway, but, that's my thing I want. So yeah, let's talk about, let's talk about the wedding sign, because we're talking about the Cricut already. So my best friend, who's been my best friend since we're freshmen in high school. Yeah, so like 30 some, like forever ago. Has it been 20 years since I was in high school? Oh man, I'm so old. I'm pretty sure it has been. Yeah. So it was like 1998. 97. Yeah, my sister graduated in 97, 98, and I was a freshman. So 1997. That's how long she's been my best friend. Whoo, buddy. Oh man. So she is one of my bridesmaids, and then my goddaughter, who is her daughter, is Nathan's counterpart in the wedding. So junior groomsman, junior bridesmaid. So cute. And so I was talking to her about coming over because Alexa, it's my goddaughter, her dress had come in. And so she was going to come over, and we were just going to kind of make a play date out of it so that the kids could hang out and we could see each other. And then, she could try on her dress and stuff. So while I was talking to her, she was telling me about how she had got this Cricut Joy, and that's the smaller one, the smaller version. And I was like, oh, like, I totally wish I had a Cricut to do our wedding sign, but I'm going to end up hand painting it. And she was like, well, it only cuts as wide as, I think it's like 4 1/4. She was like, but we might be able to make it work. And she's also been making masks for months to like donate and just like for family members and stuff. So she's going to make the masks for the girls for the wedding to match their dresses, because David's bridal didn't have one that matched exactly. They had a lighter coral color. It's called Petal, but they were still gonna. It was like $20 a pop, and they didn't have kid sizes, and I would have to pay shipping. So I was like, do you think you can just make these? And she was like, yeah, I've been popping out like whatever 10 a day for the last however many months. Like, I'm sure that I can make the masks. So we met at Joann Fabrics. We went in there to get the fabric. We picked up the vinyl, and I guess Cricut has 2 different vinyls. They have regular vinyl, you stick to the mat, and then they have smart vinyl that you just load by itself. So we get the permanent smart vinyl because the game plan for the wedding sign is right now. So we made it out of pallet wood. Pretty sure I told you guys that. We made it out of pallet wood. It's 4 boards wide at this point. So I have a little, it's like a wood, like a laser cut welcome. And I was going to put that on the board so that I could remove it and then still have this sign that we could keep in our house. Because we don't, you're not going to want a sign that says welcome to our wedding, like as home decor for the rest of forever. So originally my game plan was to do a monogram T in the background and then do our names and our wedding date in white on top of that. The boards are stained like a Java color. So that's where we're at. Oh my God, I used power tools. How am I even trying to leave that out? Y'all, I used a power tool. Yes, I did. Only thanks to Eric. So Eric cut the palette for me, and we had gotten into a conversation about the palette wood, and I had read several things that said, like, if you're going to put palette wood in your house, you need to power wash it and then scrub it down with like a bleach mixture and then let it dry in the sun because you don't know what it was carrying and you need to get rid of all the germs. And Eric was like, I'm a little worried it's going to make the board fuzzy. Like, it's going to make the wood fuzzy because you're not really supposed to get wood wet. And I was like, I don't, like, the woodworking sites say what they say, and they're saying that we got to clean it before we bring it in the house. And so he did power wash it for me because I'm afraid of power washers as well. And I'm afraid of everything. Pretty much the story of my life. I'm just frightened all the time. So he power washes it for me, and then Nathan and I scrubbed it down, and then we let it dry in the sun. And sure enough, Eric was right. I know this is like permanent recording. I'm sure that he'll make that his ringtone. My voice saying Eric was right. And some of the boards were in fact fuzzy. So he cut it up for me, and then I went through and picked 4 of like the boards in the best condition. And like, really, I only need one side of it to be nice. The other side of it doesn't matter because you won't see it. It's the back of the sign. So we figured those out, and then we staggered them because it was very difficult to get, like, we don't have a table saw or anything. Like, we have a circular saw, which also frightens me. Let's just make this a video about all the things I'm scared of. So it's just very challenging to get them all the same length because you're cutting them off of this palette, with a, circular saw versus using, a table saw where you can get it right up, it's going to maintain that straight line for you. So he was worried about that. And I was like, well, we'll just stagger the boards so that it's 4 and, one's a little to the left and one's a little to the right. One's back to the left and one's back to the right. So that's what we end up doing. We sand them and I stained them, and they aren't perfect, but like they're palette wood. They're reclaimed wood, and we ended up with this rustic theme for our wedding, inadvertently. It's not even something I necessarily would have chose, but that's just how it happened between our invitations and the decor. But anyway, so we stained it, and then I needed him to put it together for me, and he was like, well, we'll do it when we get home. When I get home from work, we'll do it together. Because, see, he had a plan and I didn't know he had a plan. So he gets all the stuff out, gets the drill out, the screws, the whole deal. And he was like, okay, come here. And I was like, do you need me to hold something for you? And he was like, no, you're gonna do it. And I was like, I'm gonna do what? What am I gonna do? I'm gonna hold the boards? And he was like, no, you're going to drill them. And I was like, but that's the power tool. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna do it. We're gonna do it together. So he was super awesome and super patient, and he like walked me through it, even though I was very anxious about it. And I did start to get a little bit more comfortable. Now, like, this is all, what did he call it? He's like, this drill is like the, he said something, like the play school version of drills. Like, you're fine. It's not like a super high powered drill through metal drill, Kelly. You're going to be fine. Which is easy for him to say. He's not frightened of it. But so nonetheless, he was very patient with me. We worked through it and we got the sign put together. So then I was talking, like I said, to Daedra about it. And so we go and we buy the vinyl and do all of that. So then we're sitting down and we're trying to figure out a game plan for, like what color to do the T, how to draw the T. Here's the thing. My maiden name was Trabeau. So a T. And so I've been doing cursive T's my whole life. And then I got married to my ex-husband and I switched to an L. And now I'm going to Taylor, which is back to a T. So the writing of the cursive T is not a huge deal for me. However, when you try to do like a monogram style or make them a little bit more fancy, it's a very challenging letter because things start to look like J's. They look like S's if they're too far leaned over. So we were looking at a couple of different designs and really like just, writing it out on paper and whatever. And what I ended up doing was my intention was to do a script T. What we ended up doing was more like a farmhouse style serif font. So then we like we did it all out with tape, like painter's tape, so that I could see like where to put it on the board. Then I super lightly traced the painter's tape, removed that, and then I used the painter's tape to mask on the outside of it. We talked about doing gray, and that didn't necessarily go. And I wanted that welcome to be removable and still have the design in a good spot that I could keep in my house. Side note, back to this. So here I decided that I was going to do a couple of little spatters of color in the background, and I just used the flower colors, I think. I didn't use the green. I might have used a little green. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't remember. So we taped it all off. We decided to do navy because our colors are navy and coral. And then in order to make the welcome removable, we did it only on the top board. So like the welcome is on the top board, and then in order to fill in the rest of it, I'm going to do like a floral spray at the top, then the welcome, and then our stuff. So we finally get to the point, it was such a long process. We finally get to the point where we're going to work on the designing of the letters. Side note, back to this. So one of the great things about no-line watercoloring is that it looks so natural, like how you would see them in nature, and I love them. But one of the downsides for me is I can almost never get like really crisp lines or really good shadows. So I like to achieve that by going in with super sharp colored pencils and just adding that in. I usually do 2 colors, a dark shadow color, and then another color to like blend it back out into the painting. And that works for me, and that's what I'm doing here. So we go into the Cricut Design Studio. It takes us forever to find a font. We end up finally finding one that works. loading it up and cutting it out, which the kids were just completely enthralled with the cutting of it. And then we get to the point where you have to pick it up with the transfer paper and put it on the sign. Here's the thing though, the Cricut transfer paper would not pick up the smart vinyl. Like, it would not. I burnished the daylight out of these things. Like, I mean, I went back over them, tons of pressure, the whole deal. And like in the video that they show, like she's very lightly taking her, squeegee over the top of it. And I was like, that is not working. So we end up almost having to start every letter on, like, to peel it off of the backing paper to get it onto the contact paper so we can continue peeling off the backing. So it was quite challenging, but the sign looks amazing. It looks so good. I'm so happy with it. If you follow me on Instagram, then you have probably seen it. It just looks so good. I'm so happy with it. And then we'll be able to take off that top board, and then the sign will just be 3 board widths, and keep that for, to hang up in our house. It's something that we made together, and as a remembrance of our wedding day. So I'm so excited about that. I had several people on Instagram, because crafty community is wonderful, made some suggestions about the contact paper that they use, dollar store contact paper instead of the Cricut transfer paper, that they use the super extra grippy paper for the smart vinyl that they use, like that they created for the glitter vinyl, because I guess it's supposed to be like really extra. I'm not sure. And obviously I would like to, I told you I want a Cricut. Eric, I want a Cricut. I would like to continue, eventually getting a Cricut and being able to do those things. So I really need to find something that works, that I don't have to peel them off individually, because that was very trying. Thankfully, Daedra has like longer, thinner nails, because she doesn't have a bunch of polish on like I always do, and so she was really much more successful at it. And we used like the little weeding tool sometimes to like get behind there. So but ultimately a huge success. I do have a story about my card box that I will maybe save for the next video. So yeah. But anyway, back to the card. This is really all that I did. And I felt like it was enough. Like, this was the focal point of my card. The only other thing I did was put a little sentiment on it. I always feel like black is so harsh when you're doing no line coloring. So here, this is I think it's the floral. Yeah, it's the floral ink set. So I was just testing out a bunch of greens to see what color I wanted to stamp my sentiment in. I ended up opting for the Forest Glades. I can't say words. Forest Glades. And I'm just going to stamp this down a couple of times. Normally they stamp relatively well with, 1 or maybe 2, but because I'm working on watercolor paper and it's very textured, I ended up having to stamp my sentiment 3 times, which with the Misty is really no big deal. Like, I don't know. I'm so spoiled with the Misty. I haven't had to stamp with acrylic blocks in quite some time. And I used to ruin all of my one layer cards because of my sentiment. So I'd be so terrified to put them on. Here I am going in with just some clear Wink of Stella to add some shimmer to the flowers. I will caution you that it can pick up the ink from the watercoloring. So just be aware of that as you're moving things around. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So I will, like I said, I will leave the link below and how you can get over to the blog hop, and how you can pick up the subscription if you're interested in that. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.